From 5. Sever.
What if I told you there was a film so profound, so disturbing, that it stopped an entire war from happening? That it changed policies so that nuclear weapons could be more monitored and possibly even, hopefully, eradicated? Well, there exists such a film, and it's called The Day After, written by Edward Hume and directed by Nicholas Meyer, who you might recognize as the guy who wrote and directed The Wrath of Khan and co-wrote The Prince of Egypt. The Day After is a critically acclaimed movie that aired on TV and received several accolades and was at one point the highest rated TV show of all time for nearly 30 years. So, what makes this film so special? Why are we talking about it today? It's not a horror film by any means, so what gives? Well, believe it or not, lots of people actually contacted me about The Day After, and for good reason. It is a film that brought America, if not the world, to its knees, as it showed the horrors of war and the possibilities of a nuclear fallout. The very end of the world, in probably the most realistic portrayal of a nuclear holocaust ever shown on TV to horrifying detail. The movie really can be summed up into three parts: the beginning part that shows us our characters and their current problems, the middle, which shows us the tensions rising and the lead up to the disaster that awaits our characters, and the last half of the film that focuses on our characters and how they adapt to the situation, or more fair to say, how they try to survive as long as they can. Let me just say that this movie is old, but I reckon most of you haven't watched it. It holds up pretty well, if a bit slow, but the realistic depiction of nuclear fallout is haunting. So if you ever wanted to experience for yourself a sort of realistic telling of what a post-apocalyptic America would look like, please do yourselves a favor and watch the movie. I assure you it's worth it. For everyone else, let's discuss this movie a bit and what makes it so memorable and, for so many, so haunting, despite it not being a horror film. Firstly, we gotta mention the characters, not because any of them are remarkable or anything, but because all of them are so incredibly unremarkable, actually, that it brings about this grounded reality to them all. At the beginning of this film, everyone has possibly the simplest problems people could have, and that's the key word here: people, not just Americans. These are problems anyone can face. It's a girl that's afraid to commit to her partner, a wife and a husband that are worried for their daughter, a soldier trying to stay strong despite knowing he has to leave his wife and kid again, a young couple talking about their future, etc., etc. Simple problems, overcasted by a worldwide apocalypse, and most of them are none the wiser until it suddenly happens. But we'll get to that. I think what I love the most about this movie is the dialogue. Genuinely, these characters talk about really, really mundane stuff, sometimes broken up by the sudden reminder that the world is in danger. I love this one scene near the beginning of the film where these four soldiers are talking about vacation plans. One guy wants to go fishing, another guy plans to go on a vacay with his wife, but one soldier is reading the newspaper and he tells them not to get too excited. And then all four of them, loquacious one moment, are dead silent the next. And this is around 10 minutes of the film. It makes sense that the soldiers are more aware of political affairs and the possibilities of war, but everyone else for the next 30 or so minutes of the film are still talking about their small town affairs in Kentucky. Seriously, there's just moments where the dialogue is just about frivolous things, but that makes the film all the more haunting. And I gotta say, man, I know this is made in the Cold War where tensions were high and people thought that the world was going to end legitimately, but man, not to get too political, but with the state of the world now, I can't help but notice small things about this movie that I'm sure people back then also noticed. You start to see small things, you get a little paranoid about other stuff, you notice things that make you a bit nervous, really. And listen, it's no secret that there's a nuke scene in this film, and most of us are waiting for it to happen any minute now. Everyone knows that, even people who watched it back then. But what's scary, as someone who's never watched it before, if your first time watching this actually, you don't really know when that'll happen. So there are these moments where you think things are going to escalate, and the nuke scene is right around the corner, but then it's really just nothing, and people just talk for another 10 minutes or so. Not even about the war, just about, like, again, small town things like marriage and junk. There's this one scene that I like, and I don't even know if it's done on purpose, but this young lady is talking to her father, a major character in this entire film. And by the way, there's so many characters in this film that I can't even be bothered to remember everyone's names. But she talks to her dad about her boyfriend, and then suddenly you hear this.
I bet never been inside in 15 years. Well, come on.
That is just an ambulance siren. But knowing that this film has an inevitable nuke scene, it gets you thinking for a split second that those are the sirens that are going to warn you that the nukes are going to drop. But of course, it doesn't. And everything's just back to normal. It's kind of creepy, actually. The anticipation I feel is just horrendous. You're just kind of getting snippets of things going wrong around the world, waiting for that one scene to happen, and then it doesn't. This old couple talks about their lives, their daughter, and then it cuts to them listening to the news about rising tensions. They get worried, they embrace each other lovingly, and they're scared that they won't wake up in the morning. But then they do, and it's a brand new day. Ah, gosh, it's so good, dude. Like, it really is. The tension just keeps rising as things escalate in the background without you really even noticing that much. Then the mundane stuff, the more humanistic stuff, once it's over, it hard cuts back to the news of more rising tensions. Something's going to happen. Something's right around the corner. Sorry, I can't get over this. You genuinely get so nervous watching this movie, especially as things start to rise up and more people become aware of the state of the world. It's no longer focusing on small town stuff. Suddenly you start to notice that the characters in this movie are no longer able to avoid the situation. Something's right around the corner. It's coming. It's actually kind of frightening how things escalate really fast, too. Seriously, 1 minute we're talking about a wedding happening tomorrow. This guy's just getting his hair cut for that. But then people start to panic, listening to the news. They start hoarding shit because they know that something's about to go down. But what's the point, really? What's the point of even hoarding? Everyone's in a hurry. They go somewhere, maybe go home, or maybe they fight about something. The cuts between the scenes are frantic and fast. We're in this one scene for a few seconds, and then we're in the next for another few seconds. We don't even spend a minute on some scenes. They just happen one at a time, back to back. Things are happening, but something else is coming. Something people aren't prepared for. Something that can't be stopped because it's coming. And then the nukes have dropped. The next part of this film is just people attempting to survive. There's nothing left. It happened. It's all gone now. There's no cure, there's no happy ending, no solution, just survive. Why survive though? What's the point? Everything's gone. Everything's dead. Everyone who survived will suffer to the end of their days. Everyone who died were granted mercy. We see various scenes in different scenarios of people trying their best to just live, to just exist in this pointless, rotten, desolate world. Symbolism is scattered throughout this film, like this memorial that still stands in the middle of the town, but before it lie a dead man and a dead child. Or this one scene where this one character is suffering from radiation poisoning, a fate that most of the other characters are facing. And as she's about to die off, cry, she knows that she's going to end her life and everything's over for her in a couple of days. She won't be alive till then. We get this one shot of her right below a basketball hoop, symbolizing how she just got dunked on by the Soviet Union. The film ends with a harrowing message, a warning to the world and the world leaders that govern this world, that what this movie portrays isn't even close to how horrible real nuclear fallout would be. The real thing would be much, much worse. And the rest is history, literally. President Ronald Reagan saw this film and it shook him something fierce. He wrote about it in his diary, talking about how the film was more than just an eye-opener. It frankly frightened him. It left him, quote, greatly depressed. As it did the Soviet Union. Both nations, for the first time, agreed on something. Nukes are fucked up. And so they signed the Intermediate Range Nuclear Forces Treaty, which vowed to eliminate all nuclear and conventional long-range ground-launched ballistic and cruise missiles. Problem solved, right? Well, listen, I don't want to get too political. I mean, it's kind of hard to avoid that when you're talking about this subject, but let's leave it a little light. If you've played Metal Gear Solid, you know that this treaty didn't actually end the war. It pretty much only delayed it. Nuclear weapons still exist. Tensions are rising again. The treaty in itself has proven ineffective, and even now we wonder if what we're watching before us was a work of fiction or a truth just waiting to be told. Time will tell. Time will tell. Speaking of time, you're running out of time to buy the Goose Boose plush, which has now been fully funded. Thank you. So if you want to buy the plush and you were worried that maybe it won't get funded so you didn't want to waste your money, well, now's your chance to waste your fucking money. Get the plush now. You literally only have a day, like 24 hours when this video has been uploaded. So please buy it if you want it. If you don't want it, hey, whatever, you know, you snooze, you lose. It won't come back. It literally will never come back. So this is your only chance to watch it, or I mean to buy it and to, you know, whatever. Anyways, I'm tired. Go get it. I'll see you later.